Hey everyone, it's Natalie. So I just want to do a quick video and tell all of the women and men out there that are dealing with a narcissistic mother-in-law or father-in-law, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Whatever your decisions are in your marriage, make sure that they're morally correct and make sure that you protect your dignity and your respect. So regardless if you choose to go no contact or you see that nothing will ever change and you decide to divorce, just know one thing, that your life is worth living the way you want. You cannot be forced to people please everyone around you while you're being abused. In this scenario, you and your children, if you have any, are the most important thing in this whole, most important people in this whole dynamic. I know it seems while you're stuck in this situation that the narcissist's control is the most important, but you have to stop listening to everything the narcissist is saying and start living the life you want without being stressed out. You have to make decisions in your life that are going to be very tough. I know the best decision that I've ever made in my life to save my marriage was going no contact. And it's going to be a tough first couple years while you're, standing your ground and doing what's right. But you're protecting your dignity, you're protecting your respect, you're protecting your mental state and emotional state, and maybe even physical state. When you decide to finally be done with these people, it is freeing. It is something that you probably haven't felt in a long time. You have allowed the narcissist to take control of your relationship unknowingly. But when you start to notice this, regardless if your husband or partner stands up for you or not, you yourself have to protect everything that means anything to you, your children, yourself, whatever. It could be your house, it could be whatever it is. So you do what you have to do to make sure that everything that means something to you is protected from these people, because they will come in and invade it. You have the voice to speak up. You have to choose to have that voice, even if that means that it pisses your husband or your spouse out. Even if that means that there might be a fight because you stood your ground and you did what you thought was right. Because in this situation, it is about what's right and what's wrong. And what your mother-in-law or father-in-law is doing is dead wrong. And what you're doing by standing up to these cowards is right. You have, people that come into your life come and go, and you get to choose the ones that get to stay. This is your life. You have rights. You have choices. You have freedoms. And so you exercise those. And you can't keep being scared of pissing everyone off in the family or your husband or the mother-in-law or whoever. Who cares? They've been abusing you for years. Who cares if you piss them off? It's going to be difficult to actually have a voice again, but you lost your voice in all of this chaos. You have to stop caring what your husband says or does when it comes to the narc in-laws. You have to have this attitude towards your husband of, I'm really sorry you feel that way, but maybe you should see a counselor. Maybe you need to work on yourself the way I'm working on myself. Chloe. And what I want to get through to you is you can't allow, Chloe, you can't allow your husband to choose the type of life you want to live. Because if you're doing that, if you're allowing your husband to choose your life path, choose if you get abused or not, then you shouldn't be with that person. That's not an equal marriage. There's no equality in that marriage. When you got married, you didn't sign up to be abused while your husband backed up the narcissist. No, when you got married, your husband is supposed to cleave to his wife when he left his family. Because now he has created a family of his own. And that family is the most important family in all of this dynamic. And if your husband chooses to keep sucking on his mommy's, you know what? Then you just go and let him have that breast milk. But it doesn't mean you have to drink from the other side. You guys have got to get tough. Stop allowing these people to railroad you because they look at you like, oh, well, she's going to people please, so she'll do and say whatever I want. And you know what? I'll let my mother come in and abuse her, and I'll stay quiet. Because mommy's always right. Bullshit. Don't do that to yourself. And it's going to be tough because I know, like the way I grew up, you always respect your elders, regardless if they're being rude or if they're wrong. But it's gotten past the point of them crossing a boundary of abuse that you no longer can stay quiet because you got to protect yourself. And when your husband's doing all this guilt tripping BS, you ignore it. You literally ignore it and not let it bother you. And you deflect fights with your husband. So it's, let's say your husband comes in and tries to point the finger and blame or shame. You just say simply, I'm really sorry you see it that way. I'm really sorry that you feel like that. I'm sorry, but that's something that you need to deal with. Just because you want your mom in your life doesn't mean that you get to force her on me. I didn't sign up for this. I signed up to be loyal to you, and now I feel like you're not even being loyal to me. So why should I sit back and keep allowing you people to railroad me? And you stick to your guns. And you know what? It's going to be a shock to them. It is. And they're not going to know. They're going to be left speechless. And they're going to call you names. And they're going to smear you. And they're going to say you have mental disorder. They're going to say all this stuff. And you simply say, I'm really sorry you feel that way, but I feel differently. Or I'm really sorry you see it that way, but I see it differently. And you neutralize that argument. You paralyze them. So you're not going to fight back and say, your mom did this, you're not doing that, husband, you're not doing whatever. You're not going to do that. From now on, you're going to be stoic. From now on, you're going to stand for what's right. And regardless if your husband wants to stand for what's right or not, you have an obligation to protect yourself and especially protect your children. And if you have to become the mommy bear or the daddy bear because nobody else is going to step up to the plate and do what's right for the children and for your family, then that's got to be you. The person's got to be you. See, you're relying too much on your husband to make things right. Well, obviously, if all this time, all these years pass by and nothing has been fixed and nothing has gotten, isn't right with the situation, and you see that all this time you've been telling your husband to tell his mom that, to, you know, his mom's being rude or whatever, well, by now you can figure out that it's not worked, and that's what you tell your husband. You say, we did it your way. We did it your way. And where did that get us? It got me abused even more. It didn't help. So this is what I told my husband. When I finally drew the line in the sand, This is what I told him. I said, honey, I've given your mother and dad several chances, and every time they wanted to, after they discarded you and me or disowned us, every time they came back wanting a relationship, I looked to my husband for that guidance in this, trusting you, thinking you knew your parents, knowing what's right or wrong. And we've done it your way, and I was a obedient wife, and I did everything that you asked me in this to do in this relationship to please you, because I'm a good spouse, and it hasn't worked. And so what I'm asking you is to try it my way for the first time. And he did, because he knew what I told him was the truth, that every time he wanted his parents back in our lives, I allowed it to keep him happy because I was being a good spouse. And then finally, I stood up to him and I said, think about it. We have done it your way for, at that time, 17 years, and nothing ever got better, and matter of fact, got worse. So I'm asking you, since I have done, been submissive and done everything you asked me to do, how about we try it my way? Be submissive to me for one time, for once. Why don't we just give this no contact a try and see where it goes? And my husband agreed because he knew. And he stayed no contact for almost 3 years. And then, like all narcissists do, they start calling with medical emergencies. Or they start calling and saying they're getting old and they don't have much longer to live. So they guilt trip my husband back into low contact. He did, but it didn't guilt trip me. Didn't affect my son. But I can tell you that through those 3 years that my husband was no contact, as hard as it was at first, I could tell not having that drama in his life anymore really strengthened our relationship. And he knows this because we've both talked about it. And it's like, if your husband isn't willing to try it your way, and you've been trying it his way the whole time, and nothing's ever gotten better, then you're not living in a good marriage. If your husband's not willing to go no contact after all these years of you going in and out of the narcissist's life, or maybe you haven't been in and out. Maybe this is the first time that you're going no contact, or the first time there's a discard, more likely not. But what I can tell you is that if you collect the evidence, if you collect the proof, and sit down with your husband and say, here's the proof. This is why I want to go no contact. I'm asking you to try it my way. If he's not willing to even try, or at least go gray rock, at least go very low contact, then you have a problem in your marriage more than you have a problem with your in-laws. Because number one thing that your husband should be doing for his wife, and this is vice versa, is protecting you. Is to protect you. And if he's not protecting you, those are major red flags, and it's selfish. It's selfish on his part, especially if you've bent over backwards trying to please his parents and it's never gotten you anywhere. The biggest thing that helped me in my situation to convince my husband to go no contact was the years of proof of abuse. That's what helped me. And my husband, he didn't even second guess it. He just went no contact because he knew what I was telling him was true, because we both experienced it. I brought up all the time they disowned him, all the times that they were saying nasty and ugly things, how many relationships they have ruined in our lives. All the family members and friends that we once were friends with no longer are friends. The proof is in the pudding. So put the pudding slap dab in his face. And I don't care if that is text messages, emails, video. And that's the other thing, is that if you're dealing with a narcissist, if you have to, try to video or record that whole entire interaction from today on. Because trust me, the narcissist is going to say or do something that you need that recording to show your spouse. Look, this is what your mom said and did to me. How can you stand for this? Let's try it my way. Let's go no contact. And if he's not willing to go no contact, well, at least low contact. And there's a lot of rules in place with that, meaning nobody's talking about you or the children. There's no interaction with the in-laws, with the children, or with you. Everything's very surface. They're not supposed to know anything about your personal life or the children's personal life. Everything literally is surface. It's, hey, a Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. That's it. No deep conversations. And the moment if the in-law says anything to your husband about divorce or about you're mentally ill or anything, that your husband leaves that situation immediately and he does not respond. These are rules that you have to come up with on your own to set in stone with your spouse. And if he's not willing to stand his ground, or at least just be surface like that, then there's a huge problem in your marriage. And honestly, you need to be in marriage counseling ASAP, because if that behavior doesn't stop with your spouse, then this is your life for the rest of your life. Someone that's not protecting you. And I know I would never stay in a relationship with somebody that doesn't protect me and allows me to get abused. Hell no. And you shouldn't tolerate that either. If your husband chooses to have a relationship with the narcissist, you excuse you and the children out of that relationship. And I don't care how much he guilt trips you. You look the other way, you walk the other way. I don't care what argument he's trying to start. You just be neutral in your answers and don't start the argument. And over time, your husband will give up that argument. Trust me when I tell you that. But arguing back and forth, you know what that does? It gives your partner hope. If you argue with him, it gives him hope that one day you can be convinced. But if you're neutral and you're firm, then they start to see really that you're not playing games. And things get better in your marriage. The first few months is going to be rocky, maybe the first year, but your marriage will start strengthening because you're strengthening yourself. You're protecting your family. And what's so ludicrous about this whole situation is that our spouses don't even see that we're protecting our family and them from harm because they're so brainwashed. And I don't think that a narcissist should navigate your destiny in your marriage. But unfortunately, sometimes if you don't have a partner that is backing you up, they do. And that divorce ends in divorce. Just like 60% of the world's population end divorce because of these meddling mother-in-laws. And if that's the case and y'all get divorced, good. You didn't deserve that crap. Find someone that's going to accept you, welcome you, and love you for the person that you are. Someone that will stand strong with you in your life. And pray to God that you never get yourself in this situation again, and look for the red flags. But if you decide to stay because you have a partner that is willing to stick up for what's right, then your marriage can last. Look at mine. I've been with my husband for 22 years. But you have to have someone that is on your side. If you don't have that, especially all the women that I've talked to that are with golden children, the golden child, two things happen. One, they are miserable as hell. Or two, they are divorced. Now, if you're dealing with a golden child and you don't want to divorce, you do the same thing that me and everyone else does with the scapegoat or forgotten child, and that you excuse yourself out of that relationship with the narcissist. But the problem when you're dealing with the golden child is that they blabber too much to their mother. And that is the main issue I hear from women, is that my husband will not stop telling his mother everything about me, everything about the children. And most of the time, the golden children will outright refuse your refusal of no contact with the children. They will try to force that upon you to have the contact with the mother-in-law, but you don't have to stand for that. You're the mother. You are the mother. Or maybe you're the father. You protect those babies. Those are your children, your seed. I don't care who's pressuring you. And shame on the person, the spouse, that is pressuring you to make your children have a relationship with somebody that is abusing you. That's BS. And you shouldn't stand for that. You guys need to strap your boots on. And really, you think, this is the thing. The narcissist has been starting little battles throughout all this time. But if you want to win the war, the entirety of this, then you stand your ground. You keep your boundaries firm. You're no contact, and you keep your children safe. Peace, love, and harmony. See you guys later.